Yo. Welcome back to another edition of the Men Who Cry podcast. Almost forgot the name of this podcast for a second. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, review, rate, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. If you don't do these things, I'm going to decline to believe that you stand next to someone in the urinal when you go to the bathroom. With that being said, on today's episode, we have someone who I recently met. Hopefully we'll bring a long-lasting relationship with. And before this podcast even gets off, we can probably start how this even started. But I have my producer Nick on the show with us. How are you doing today, Nick? In sunny California.
In sunny California, man. It never rains out here, man. It never rains in Southern California, man.
Just mudslides and fires.
It's funny. It did rain this week though, and there were evacuations because mudslides and shit. I'm sorry. Like, are we allowed to or no? Like,
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, there was some mudslides and stuff this past week. Nothing too wild, but yeah, bro, it's been a weird year with half of LA burning down, but we're here though.
That's good, man. I'm happy that you guys are all still safe because yeah, it's like every other time I look up, it's like, oh, that's happening now.
Yeah.
So before we get started, the great thing about this country, I guess, one of the very few things, is traveling. And me and Nick met not even in the airport that we were flying from, but in the layover airport. So yeah, you want to explain how this came to be?
Yeah, man. So we were flying from LA to Vegas, Vegas to New York.
LA, Vegas, then to New York. There's some Drake song mixed in there. Like there's a Houston, Atlanta, Vegas. It's like a Angel, Vegas, York.
Angel, Vegas, York. Yeah, facts. We were on a flight from LA to Vegas, had a little layover, and I think we were sitting near one another. And I saw that you were listening to some like baseball YouTube thing or something like that. And I was like, oh, like I like baseball, and I don't know too many people, especially too many black men that also watch baseball too. So I didn't say anything on the LA flight. I think it was the LA flight, right?
That was our first flight, and then we were in Vegas for like 4 hours.
Yeah, because we ended up having like a major delay.
Yeah.
And then we talked in Vegas, and I was like, yo, and then we spoke for like a lot of the time. And I remember on the flight from LA to Vegas, I was sitting in the wrong seat. It was by mistake too. So it was by mistake because I don't know if I don't sit next to you in the wrong seat, I don't see your phone. And I wasn't like trying to be nosy. I just happened to see it. So if I would have sat in my seat, we might have talked, but not like how we did because we had an actual action item to talk about. So yeah, and then we spoke, and then flew to New York, and then we've been talking ever since. And since then, we've been trying to make this thing work, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, appreciate it. First, and hopefully won't be your last time on the show because
it won't be, man. It won't.
We're gonna be chatting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Today's gonna be a little bit of a different because I am just getting off vacation. Spent a whole week in Barbados. Great time. But I'll be getting into the swing of things. So the Stephen A. versus LeBron stuff, I will not. I was right on vacation when all that was happening.
Yeah.
And I had to be like, I had to check back in because I was really trying to like stay off my phone, really be offline. Mm-hmm. One, because once you step outside Barbados, there's no data. So I wasn't trying to pay. And secondly, I was trying to like enjoy weather. So all that stuff. Over my mind.
Do you have any thoughts of it? Like, I know you don't want to talk about it, but do you have any like?
Yeah, I mean the quick and short of it is, I have had a tumultuous relationship with Stephen A. I don't know him personally, but look, the man is very credentialed, and in the world that we're living in, being credentialed is getting less and less and less important. Yes. I find that very important. For
Yes.
people who don't know, Stephen A. was a long-time reporter. A long-time
In
reporter. Like, he's been in this
Philadelphia,
game
New York, yeah, for a long time.
in
Yep.
tough markets, in markets where you got to say some stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say anything about that.
Mm-hmm.
I find a lot of his commentary and a lot of his actions clownish, and I think it distracts from the game. And I think it's one of the main deterrents of why certain fans hate the way media covers things.
100%.
With that being said, I think he was in the right.
Who's Stephen A?
Because LeBron, I don't care whatever you want to say, like, oh, Stephen A says like he's there to be approached and LeBron approached him.
Mm-hmm.
He did it in the middle of the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, there was a game going on.
Mm-hmm.
He stopped playing, or it was during a timeout, went over him, said something to him, accosted him, really, and then went back. So it distracted from the game, whether or not people want to say that it is or it is.
Yeah.
And the second main thing I have to say is the whole Bronny experience. I said this from the very beginning, and I think how you view this experience with Bronny speaks to where you are in your life. I do not have kids, so I can only speak to this as a son. If you are a father and you have sons, I can see how you see a lot of this very differently.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we know that dude was not good enough to be drafted. And that's okay. The way that it's very different because people always want to use this argument like, we don't care about the 55th or the 57th or the 59th pick. We don't generally care about those people when they come into the NBA, which is true. But the way it's being presented as, and I remember the whole draft conversation when they were saying if teams were drafting him, he was taking Bronny to Australia. That boy might not be good enough to play in Australia. Okay, like let's keep it a buck. His dad got him in the league. And I think a lot of this, and my main takeaway from the very start was, who is this for? Is this for Bronny to develop and to become an NBA player and play for a decade plus in the league? Or is this for LeBron to say, I played long enough with my son? Now, both of those things can be fine if you want to, if that's what like he wants to do and if Bronny's a part of this. But you can very clearly see that this is affecting the young man. And the fact that he is an NBA player, the situation was him talking about him in a game, a real game, not in garbage time, not stuff. It was the middle of a game that the Lakers wanted to win. Okay? And he evaluated him just like anybody else on the court. Therefore, that father shit gets ranked away once you step on that court for some real minutes and some real time. Because people are really trying to win these games. And I think that it could have been handled properly. I think Stephen A has done a great job of destroying the relationship he's had with LeBron. I mean, it's no secret. Those two guys don't talk.
Yeah.
And I don't like the way that Stephen A's basically run around, with his tail between his legs, and every single microphone he's gotten, he's basically spoken about it. But ultimately, this is not Bronny James, LeBron James' son. He's talking about LeBron James Jr., the NBA player. And when you put your son in this situation, again, he did not have to go to the league. He's not poor. So you're not doing this for money. And if you were like, well, the coaching sucks, you can go literally to anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
There's no penalties. You can get some money some other place. You could this whole thing could have been avoided because he could have just stayed in college. But they decided not to do that. So when you decide not to do these things, this is what comes with it. So that's my quick piece on the whole thing, and just
I'll ask you one more question. I agree with most of what you said. I would say that I think Stephen A. though Stephen A. isn't wrong in the critique of Bronny, but it's not, to me. My mom told me this lesson. when I was young, bro, and it stuck with me for a very long time. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I remember listening to the Stephen A. clip of him being like, "I'm pleading with you as a father." I remember seeing that, like maybe like when it like the day it released or whatever, being like, "Bro, you're bugging. Like, it's not that deep. It's just basketball, right?" Yeah, you could say the whole thing about like, oh, the who pays attention to a person drafted that late anyway and whatever. No matter if Bronny stayed at USC and he went all 4 years, came in the league, he would have always have had like extra eyes, extra. It's Bronny James. You get more viewership if you talk about Bronny. But Stephen A. and some other people were like going a little hard beyond basketball in my eyes, and I think that's what LeBron was like more so saying. Do I like the way he went after Stephen A.? Probably not. But at the same time, if you critique me, if you say something to me for the whole world to see, I should be able to do that to you as well. And also Stephen A. is also he's also the one that always says, "I'm at games. You can just like walk up on me and we could talk about it." And then when it happens, you the next day on first take, you're somber, and then as the week wanes on, you become like you go on like Gil's Arena, you wearing the chain, and now you saying, "Oh, da 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 da," like I didn't like that bullshit. It's just like, bro, keep the same energy. Like if that's how you really feel, that's how you really feel. But just because someone comes like up to you and says, "Hey, da, 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 da," like yo, I want to talk to you about this," which that's not what LeBron did. Like LeBron was like, "Yo, you're bugging," like you know. But it's just like, bro, like Stephen A. Like he's to me, Stephen A. the personality could be like a clown. I've met him a couple times. He's a super cool dude. Like I've never had a bad like experience, but in the past couple of years, and I don't know if it's he's always been this very like loud and like he's very like stay off the weed and like he's on crack. Like I love like we like love that. But I think in the past few years he's turned into someone that like from my eyes has turned into someone who is going a little beyond basketball
because it's about him.
because
Like
yeah
it's ESPN
yeah
very easily. The man just signed $100 million contract. I love
yeah
how this is now
yeah
part of the conversation, but wherever we're here. The man just signed $100 million contract.
yeah
I think he's just behind Pat McAfee
yep
for highest paid employee. It's either one of those three. It's either him, Pat, or Mike Greenberg are the highest paid employees
yep
at ESPN. He said during the release on his podcast that now he doesn't have to ask ESPN for permission to talk politics. He has even said beforehand that he has talked openly about hosting a late night talk show. Stephen A. is no longer in the business of journalism. Stephen A. is in the business of Stephen A. Smith. Now,
yep.
I'm not critiquing that. You don't got to stay in one lane,
For,
right?
yeah
Like if
yeah for
you're
sure
like, yo,
yeah
I was a journalist, now I do this. Like that's not my critique of him overall. My critique from him, and has always been, is that he has now put himself in a position to oversee the game,
yeah.
and he's been able to do that with the NBA very successfully.
hmm
Just because I think there's been a lack of new faces of the league, and when
hmm
you have LeBron and you have Steph and Kevin Durant, these guys that are, aging out, and you need these new faces.
hmm
Faces are just faces, right? Like
yeah
it doesn't, if I ask someone in 2025, give me 5 people who you listen to when they talk politics, not even, they could be anybody.
hmm
There's no way that someone like Joe Rogan or Charlie Kirk or like any of those people aren't in their mind, and they have nothing. They're not making political actions,
hmm
but they have jumped the curb, right?
hmm
Where it's not about what's helping the people, whatever. It's about them. And that's
yeah
always been my issue now with Stephen A. Smith. It's like I already know when anytime the Knicks lose a game, I can click on and I already know there's going to be a whole rant on that, right?
yeah
The team can win 10 straight games. They lose the 11th, and it's like the team is dog shit. So it's like, okay, once I realized that this wasn't really about information or making people smarter or like having like debates where like I don't agree with these people, but it's like, okay, like that's a perspective I didn't think about. Let me think about that, right? Once I realized that that was done,
Mm-hmm.
I've been off the train. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but again, with that said, I'm defending him in the
Yeah.
sense of like, well, I think that is harsh, and I agree that like it very much seems that he was going at LeBron instead of quote unquote Bronny.
Mm-hmm.
You're fair game. Like
But
you get paid.
yeah, but he was going after Bronny though, because like right after because if I'm not mistaken, when the audio leaked of LeBron talking to Richard Jefferson, he referenced the clip on First Take where Stephen A was like, "I'm coming to you as a dad" or whatever. That right after, um, right after Stephen A said that, he goes and breaks down like Bronny's numbers. And he's like, he breaks down his numbers, and which rightfully so. He's an NBA player. He's on the roster. He's at the end of the bench, but he gets paid like a couple million a year to be on the bench. But it was a little like, bro, you're going hard on a person that never gets in the game. And it was right after the Sixers game where they threw out which I didn't think was a smart idea. Redick threw out Bronny, and he had to guard Maxey, and Maxey was like, bro, you're food. Like what? Like
Yeah, he can't guard him. And that but again, here's what I'm saying. It all comes from vantage points, right?
yeah,
Stephen A is like, I'm attacking you, the father, because he's basically saying, intimating that LeBron's the one who got him in the game,
yeah,
not JJ. Which, again, speaks to my point. There's nothing at this point, unless Bronny can really go out and pretty much like establish himself as being like a credible rotation player, right? And that's going to take time.
mm-hmm.
Every moment he's on the court, it's going to be, oh, it's because LeBron put you on the court. Your
But
dad got you on the court.
but do you think that's do we believe that too, or do you think that's more so the notion, which the notion that it's giving?
I don't believe that Bronny James, as of this moment, is an NBA player. Now, I think that there's a difference levels in scale, right? There's rotation players, there's NBA players, and there's like G Leaguers, right? Not every single person that puts on an NBA uniform this season is an NBA player. I just looked the again, big Knicks fan, people who listen to this podcast knows. The Knicks just signed some dude named Watson on the team who I have never heard of.
Yeah,
and he got into the game against the Kings when it was a blowout. Do I think that dude's an NBA player? No. Do I care? No. But that's why it's like this whole thing with Bronny is just, we don't care. It's just his name.
Yeah.
And so the fact is like until he actually proves it, like he has to like really go down to the G League and put up some like great numbers. If you're in the G League and you're not averaging 30 a game ish, you're not an NBA player. I had this whole conversation with my friend before when we, again, another Knicks reference. Deuce McBride. It was a guy who was drafted in the second round, a guy a lot of people think Bronny could maybe develop into this kind of player, and he was awful in the NBA. Awful. And I remember talking to my friend, and we were like, yo, this dude's like, it's kind of weird because like he's terrible in the league, but he'll go to the G League and he'll drop 40. He was dropping 40 like every game. And mind you, this guy had credentials. He was like the Big East Player of the Year, or like he was like he was on an all defensive team in the Big 12. I mean, he wasn't the Big East because he played for West Virginia. My point is like no one doubted this guy was a draftable player, right? And he had his stats to back it up. So when you don't have your stats to back up anything, it's basically just off of your potential.
Yeah.
And if you're so up and down in the G League, you're not going to be a good enough player to be in the NBA. And again, this is what we get into. They already had a report that said Bronny wasn't playing road games.
Yeah, that's the biggest critique I have of LeBron from this whole situation. I do not understand the whole thing of him not playing road games in the G. Bro, you should be with the G Leaguers day in and day out. I understand, or I don't understand having him like with the Lakers when the G League team is on the road. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I do think that's a LeBron handed down. LeBron, hey, I want Bronny here with me, which that I don't like because it helps Bronny in a way of like he gets to be around these NBA guys, not day in and day out, but like half of the year. But I think he would develop more if he played road games in the G League too.
Yeah, and the thing is, the G League schedule ends before the NBA season ends.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's gonna
Yeah.
be, and like guys, like there's call ups, there's injuries that happen all the time. Like
Yep.
you're not gonna be like in the G League every single day, like things like that. And so yeah, and again, this goes to the larger point of like I haven't liked the way that this whole thing was handled for Bronny. I think
Yep.
that for him, his develop it as a person, he's like 22 or
Yeah.
21 years old.
Yeah. He's young.
And besides the basketball part of it, again, as a son who had someone help him get into a position that he probably did not deserve, I am telling you from firsthand experience that's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
And ultimately, while I think LeBron thinks he's doing the best thing for him,
Mhm.
it's a whole conversation now about him doing whatever. And like, can he become a NBA player? Yeah, I mean he's a physically gifted player. If he plays long enough, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like a ninth man, a 10th man in someone's rotation.
Mhm.
Do I think he's gonna be like a 10-year vet? I don't know, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. I do like the Deuce McBride. He could be his ceiling might be Deuce. Yeah, his ceiling could
Yeah,
be
like a Deuce, a Pat Beverly.
Pat Beverly.
Um,
And those are
like
pretty and those are guys like for instance, right now Deuce McBride he's holding it down with Jalen Brunson now, and that's not a bad role. Being the backup to one of the best guards in the league is not bad.
that's not
Uh,
a bad living. You'll get millions of dollars. Pat
yeah.
Beverly had to at least make $15 million in his career.
I think Pat, I want to say, for whatever reason, I looked this up like last year. Pat's made like 50, 60 million in his career. Yeah.
And just played.
Just,
Never was really a star guy. I remember him starting a bit because I remember the whole Jeremy Lin Pat thing was hilarious when he beat him out.
Mhm.
But like started a couple of games, was
Yep.
in playoff series,
Yep.
whatever. He played for a long time in the league. Like you said, made a lot of money. That should be Bronny's career. Like if that's Bronny's career, that's a great career.
He succeeded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You made $50 million in the NBA.
And with the way the salaries work, unless they make a complete change during the next CBA, he might make double that. The 15th man might make 60 million. If you're the ninth, 8th to 10th man, you might make over $100 million.
In
If
your
you
career. Yeah.
if you get lucky to play like 6 to 10 years, just by how these contracts are going. But I do think, side note, I do think they're gonna change all of that with the next CBA. But that's beside the point. But we're gonna blame Joel Embiid and people like that,
No,
bro.
blame Joel Embiid and blame CJ McCollum.
CJ, yep,
One of the worst. Whatever. That's definitely
yeah.
a different conversation. Where
We would be here for 3 more hours.
I
Yeah.
I have a whole
Yeah.
take on that. But anyway,
Yeah.
what we're actually here to talk about for those 20 minutes,
Yes.
um, was it is in reference to LeBron a little bit, but not directly. And I haven't seen too many people break this down, so this is good because my eyes haven't been tainted in any way.
Mhm.
Is the Court of Gold documentary that came out a couple weeks ago. For those who don't know, it's on Netflix right now. If you haven't watched it, you don't have. I mean, we know how it ends, but it showcased the USA men's basketball team as they took on the world to complete the gold medal. And I think one of the things that was the most fascinating, at least for me, was it wasn't just USA propaganda. Like
Yes.
it featured so many other people and so many other countries and like just how they start basketball, how their country was going and things like that. Just a lot of things I didn't really know. And the overwhelming takeaway I have from it was number one, the Olympics, I think, matter more to me now in basketball than at any other point.
Because, like,
And
well, why?
two reasons. One is that because of the American product or what we've done here in terms of developing basketball players,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can make a great argument. There is an American player that's one of the top 5 players in the league right now. You can make that case.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, wait. Let's get
You
into
can
that.
go Jokic, Luka, SGA,
Yeah.
Shea. No, SGA.
Or-
What's my man's
yeah.
name?
Victor?
Giannis and Victor. You could do that. Now, I wouldn't have Victor that high. Me
You wouldn't have Victor that-
personally,
Okay.
Victor, nah, not yet. You ain't even made the play in yet, my brother. You're not a top 5 player.
True.
I love you, but you gotta like my biggest thing on NBA players. You gotta win.
Yeah, you gotta
like,
win. Okay.
For most of my main thing is I'm a big wins guy because by and large part, most of the team is the talent's the same. The difference is like we got this dude and you don't. So if you're that dude, you gotta say. And again, this isn't a criticism. He's like 20. You know. So
okay, so we got Luka, Giannis,
Luka, Giannis, SGA.
And who was the fourth person we named?
What's my call? I mean, you could have said Embiid
at
one point, but he's kind of.
You had a fourth person before I said Victor. You had a fourth person.
It was. Now I'm trying to go in the NBA.
Jokic.
Cat now.
Jokic. SGA, Giannis, Luka.
Luka was 4.
So that's 4. So that's 4. So the 5th best player in the league.
I think personally, if I'm like the 5th best, like I'm just like taking the 5th best guy right now, I probably would take LeBron.
Okay, that's not a bad.
Yeah, right now, if I needed to win a playoff game, that's the way I break it down. I need to win this playoff game. I'm taking that's probably the guy I'm taking. I would take those 4 guys ahead of him, but I would take LeBron.
It's so funny when people bring up these conversations. No one ever brings up Tatum, and no one ever brings up Tatum. You could put Tatum in that spot, LeBron.
Well, here's the thing: how did you feel about the documentary, especially with Jason Tatum? Because that's another part of this that I think speaks to his character.
Yeah, I feel bad for Jason Tatum, man. I feel really bad for Jason Tatum. He was in a weird predicament, man. Like after watching the documentary, do you feel like what happened to him was warranted? Because I think if anything, the same way we feel about Kevin Durant's arc in the documentary, I feel the opposite for Jason Tatum, because I was like, there was no reason for that. There was no reason for and furthermore, there was no reason for the like Jaylen Brown, for example. He should have been there. I just feel like I don't know if I can't like even after watching it, I still can't articulate why they were put in that position. Like, how do you feel about that?
So here's what I would say, and it's going to answer the first question you asked before, like why do I feel so good about this, right? One is the fact is like this isn't a layup anymore. I never watched these because I'm not watching you beat a team by 50.
True.
You know, and like, you know, sometimes some of the finals games were good. You know, like France when we play them in Rio, that game was like a 1-point game. That was a real good game.
Yeah.
And this year, obviously, or this past year, right, it was a good game as well against France. Evan Fournier, he puts on that jersey. It means something different to him.
He becomes Jordan. In that jersey. Yeah.
But yeah, like it's not as close. And when it's not as close, it's like, dog, we can't be out here fucking around.
True.
And this gets back to a conversation about Tatum. And I feel like if you want to say what's people's aura or people don't love about him is the fact, like, dog, like, you got to understand, fans like us, we watch every single day, right?
Yeah.
I watch basketball until I'm not be able to watch anymore, right?
Right.
But dude down the street who's like, yo, I'm not a big NBA fan, but I'm going to check into these games. I watch the finals. Watch you piss the bed 4 out of 5 times. And like, yeah, do we like defense? Yeah. Do we like your ability to pass and do the ball, all stuff? But like, I always think about this, right? You know, a lot of times, right? I don't remember, and again, not a Kobe fan,
Yeah.
I don't remember Kobe's like game logs like that in my mind. But I remember
In
when he hit that shot over Steve Nash and Leandro Barbosa to go up
yeah,
2-1 against Phoenix Suns. They lost
yeah,
that series.
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember him killing Jalen Rose and the Toronto Raptors at
For
81
81.
points,
I
right?
remember
I
like when Wade,
remember
like Wade the at the buzzer,
at the
like
buzzer with Wade banked in the three.
over
Like
Wade. Yeah, yeah.
all these things are moments in time.
Copy.
And that's the biggest thing with Tatum is like his moments aren't those like, oh wow, this dude really shut people the fuck up. Like,
Yeah,
just think about this. Look at someone like Steph. People were still criticizing that man after
yeah,
he won 3 rings.
yeah,
Okay. Oh, he
yeah.
doesn't have a Finals MVP. He played bad in the finals. All this stuff. And when did that stop? When that man said, "I'm winning this
Yeah.
in your gym,"
Yes.
and he went into Boston and broke them boys.
Oh, nah, facts.
So at the end of the day, people are like, oh, the stats and the numbers. And again, I love stats. I love EPM. I love all that nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this is about moments.
Moment.
And unfortunately,
Yeah.
he didn't have his moments and he didn't play well. And that's ultimately my point. He didn't play well in the overall thing. So I wasn't fine. Jaylen Brown should have made the team. I absolutely agree with you. He should have been on the team.
The fact that don't get me wrong, I love Derek White. Oh no, it was Drew Holiday, right? Not Derek
Drew
White.
Holiday. No, it was Derek White. You're right.
Yeah,
Because
oh,
it
yeah,
was
Derek White,
Kawhi.
yeah. Yep.
But that's the thing. Even during the finals, Woj was like, yeah, Derek White's going to replace Kawhi because they're already talking about Kawhi not playing.
Yeah, and yeah. It didn't make sense, man. But you're right though. Jason Tatum didn't play well, but I feel like I understand you only have X amount of games to like get it right, and like you said, over the past few years, Serbia, Germany, all these teams are so good now, so you have to play well. But I feel like the talent was there that he could have figured it out, but at the same time, he doesn't have those moments. So it's just like I could see how a person like that can get looked over, but I did feel bad for him, and I do think that might be the start of his like. Well, I can't even say that because he's not a villain, but if anything, if he were to ever use anything to become a villain, he could have used that, but he doesn't have the aura. He doesn't have that signature like I'm him moment, or if he does have a moment, it's a moment that like mimics like Kevin Garnett or Kobe Bean, rest in peace, with the with the armband. He comes off as someone that's trying to be the superstar, not the person who is the superstar.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
sometimes you don't like it very much just comes down to like who you are as a person.
facts.
Like speaking of N, because, that clip with Barak and Ant,
Oh
I feel like that
man,
was the first time
I was
Barak
gonna
met
ask you about yeah, yep,
the
yep,
leader of the YNs, Ant
yeah,
Edwards.
yep.
And
Look,
that was some YN energy.
that was
that
very my energy. Told
Obama
them,
was, but here's the thing: he's got this like it's like a palpable taste or feel to him already. But Tatum's the way more accomplished player. I
yes,
would argue the better player right
yes,
now.
yes,
But he has this, and I think a lot of this comes down to Young,
yeah,
and
yep,
you haven't seen the mistakes or you haven't seen the failures really, and that's
yes,
really what it comes down to. Ant hasn't failed in a way that I think any one of us would be like, that's on him and he's going to
yeah,
catch shit for it. Whereas
yeah,
Tatum has enough of those and hasn't, I think, had a very big like you said, I'm him moment
yeah,
to right that
yeah,
wrong,
yeah.
But yeah, how did you feel about the YN meeting the former president of the United States?
I loved it and I hated it at the same time. I love when he was respectful. He wasn't. He didn't come out his face. He didn't come out of anything other than just being the leaders of the YNs. Like Barack said something he didn't like, and he addressed it. And the thing I respect about it the most, whether that was Barack or even like Adam Silver or anyone of that type of like Barack is obviously it's Barack. I appreciated it, bro. Like I loved it. it was a little rough because like as I kept watching the clip, I'm like, bro, please don't say something too crazy. Please don't. And he was respectful. But the part I hated about it was it made Ant it it made certain people look at Ant a little differently. And the whole conversation that came from that was, oh, like you got to be the face of the league. You can't be doing that. And I respected the fact that his retort was, well, I don't want to be the face of the league. I just want to go hoop. So I love when these guys when the best thing about the documentary in my whether it was Ant or like anybody else, we got to see a raw version of them. Like with Durant. Like we've never seen Durant that vulnerable, like ever. But I feel like the only one that caught flack was Ant Edwards. And I don't
You thought he
especially
caught flack?
yeah, well I thought he caught a little flack because like the conversation turned from well, it's not just it wasn't just that. Like it was the whole thing with his like with the baby. But on top of all of that, the conversation led to, well, yo, you're the face of the league. You have to act like the face of the league. And then him being like, hey, well, I don't want to be the face of the league. And that turned into, well, you can't be doing all these you're doing stuff for Sprite, you're doing stuff for this, you're doing stuff for that. You have like you are the face of the league. So it's just like, well, if that's just him, if he talks like that, if he walks like that, why can't he just do what he wants to do and play ball and that's it? So I, I didn't hate it for what he did. I just hated the vitriol that came from that he received. Like, have you noticed any of that? Like, or no?
So I'll table the Ant face of the league conversation until next time. But
Yeah.
the way I looked at it personally was I didn't think he got vitriol. I think there were some people who were just thought
Yeah.
he was being disrespectful, right?
Uh-huh.
And I feel like the flack that he caught wasn't necessarily by core fans, if that makes sense. You know, I don't necessarily think people who watch the league or cover the league or anything like that really were like
Yeah.
thought it was too out of pocket, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
However, yeah, I think like you just said before, like as one of the leaders, him, I'm about to say Playboy Cardi, but Playboy Cardi's not that young. As one of the leaders of the YNs, he's gotta let it be known what YN energy is. And I
It's him
think
and
it
Young
was
Boy.
just
It's him and
yeah,
NBA
and
Young Boy.
but here's the thing that I love about it, and I
Mhm.
don't know if people caught this.
Talk to me.
The Obamas produced this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. They
if
put that.
Obama felt some type of way, he could have cut that.
He could have cut that whole thing. Yes.
That whole interaction did not need to be into the whole because they spent hours with this team. Like, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, but he did a response to it because he's doing this year 5 YouTube video thing.
Yeah.
And there's a clip of him responding to the clip and him saying like, yeah, you know, Obama was really cool when we went out to dinner. You know, you can hear his face. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but like that could have been in the doc.
Yep.
Like Obama left that they in whatever his team thought that this was okay enough to be in it, and that to me again shows why he's just a cool motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just like almost a willingness to understand that like these two men are just from two completely different generations. I mean, Ant was a kid probably when Obama was elected, probably like a
Yeah.
9-year-old. You
Probably.
know,
Yeah.
because
He
Ant's
got.
like 25.
Yeah. And Edwards is.
Ant's got to be born in like 2000. Like, he's got to be born in either 2000 or like 99 or 2001, something
He
like
was
that.
born 2001.
Exactly. So he's 9.
Yeah.
So like
He
he's
was.
not he's not this dude in his mind
Yeah.
that some of us might look at him as, right? This moment because he was just like a kid and then it happened for him.
Yeah.
So
Did you
I
wait before we move on? Did you see when Barak got LeBron and Durant in the convo? The looks on
yes.
their face was like, "Yo, please don't say nothing stupid.
Of
Please don't."
course, is that it's like
Yeah.
please, young brother, this is one of the greatest people who have ever lived
Yeah. But
in our generation. Please do not embarrass us in
but
front
you
of
make
this
a good
man.
point though. No, but you make a really good point of Barack left. They left it in there for a reason. Because whether they knew it would go viral, whether they didn't find it disrespectful, or all of the above. Like it, it the it's fine, but I don't know. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I thought that and that was really his only moment of the whole doc, which is kind
Yeah,
of funny.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I did like the
yeah,
moment when he tried to I think it was Bam took him to what competition did Bam take him to? Was
there was the ping pong because
ping
he said
pong and
he was going to beat
I could
those.
beat
He was
him.
going to beat the
Yeah.
girls.
And I love the fact that that was on they had the video of that too. It was hilarious. Like I
Yeah,
love Ben Edwards, man. He's a good he has a great personality, man. He has a really really good personality, bro.
he's a funny dude, which was why it was like,
Like,
oh, that was like a nice little tie-in because that was the whole thing
yeah,
on IG anyway.
yeah,
You
yeah,
kind of mentioned it a bit, but like the two guys I think that came across the best in this were, like you said, Kevin Durant and also Steph Curry.
yep,
And I think, as we've seen just from our political landscape and all this other stuff, it's kind of hard to feel like connected sometimes as like Americans, like a moment.
yeah.
And I think when Steph had those two games, the last game against Serbia and then the game against France, um, I remember I can at least speak where I was when the final was. I was in a bar in Brooklyn
Oh, okay.
and I was with some people, some of my friends, but they weren't. One of my friends, he spent a lot of time in Germany,
Mhm.
um, and the other person was an American. And we are kind of just like watching the game, and they're all kind of talking to me, and they're like, "How do you feel about the game?" Blah blah. And I'm like, "I think it'll be close. I think the USA will win, but that dude Victor's that dude."
Yep.
And when Steph hit the back to back to back threes, oh man, you could have gotten me a USA
Yeah.
tatted on my chest.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
was excited. I was
Yep.
ecstatic.
Yep.
And then watching him talk about it, I think was one of the coolest things because it was his first Olympics. And to be honest, he was playing like crap the first couple of games, which speaks to my whole point is like small guards in this sport, it doesn't really work for them.
Yeah.
Historically, if you look at a lot of
Yeah.
the small guards, great players,
Yep.
they don't play their best in this type
Yep.
of environment. Um, and I was just so happy that he had those two moments for him personally. But yeah, how did you feel about those two guys specifically?
It made me fall in love with basketball in a different way because my entry to basketball is Kobe, the Shaq days, like late '90s, like that era, and I think when Durant went to the Warriors, I won't say I looked at basketball differently. I still watched, still loved it, but I was like, damn, like it didn't feel the same like LeBron going to the Heat. It didn't feel like Garnett and Ray Allen going to Boston. It felt a little different. And I won't say I didn't like those guys for a long time. I would just say I looked at them a little differently. When Steph beat or when the Warriors beat Boston in 2022, I was like I got back on the train of like okay cool like, I love Steph Curry. This documentary though it made me realize that I was dumb for hating. Not I won't say hate. That's a very strong word. I was dumb for not liking them for as long as I did, for the move that they made. Because at the end of the day, all they wanted to do was win. All they wanted to do was win. Who cares how they won? All they cares who cares? They just wanted to win. So seeing Durant be vulnerable and like you rarely hear him talk about like how he was raised and like it was a small moment, but from that moment and then seeing the have the breakdown of that game, I was working with like all the smoke that day, and they were doing an interview with Marshawn Lynch at a theater for some like documentary that they produced for Marshawn. I'm in the audience going crazy while they're doing the interview. It's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. And for me, the fact that he had never been in the Olympics ever before. Was he hurt last time? In
No, I don't.
20
So no, the last Olympics was the KD. It was the year that they were like, "Oh, this is like our
2021.
G." Yeah. It was that was the COVID one
COVID, yep.
because I think they pushed the Olympics back a year.
Yep.
Because that was the year it was Durant, Bam was on that team, Devin Booker was on that team.
Yep.
What's my man's name? Dame Lillard, who didn't play well, small guard.
Yeah.
I think Draymond was on that team, and then
Draymond was.
Carmelo was not on that team. He would have been
Carmelo
too old.
was not. No.
Yeah.
What
That was like that.
2021.
No, yeah, Carmelo was on the year before that.
2016, yeah.
Yeah, he was on the 16 team.
Yeah.
Was DeMarcus Cousins on that team? No, DeAndre Jordan. That's the guy. Because I remember him saying this meant more than a ring. But no, I don't remember why. I just don't think he ever wanted to do it.
Well, I do
because like LeBron didn't do it for like a decade.
Well, no, he did it. They did it 2004. No,
he did 4 and he did 8, but he didn't do anything after that. I don't think he was on 12. Was he on 12?
He did 12 in London. Yeah. Him, Durant, Kobe. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to remember which one. Which one of those was not the? Was that the Redeem team? Was 8?
Yeah, Redeem team was 08.
You know what it was? I remember because I remember Tyson Chandler, Chris Paul was on the 12 team.
Yes.
And then LeBron didn't do it again until this past one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he didn't do 20.
He wasn't on 16 and he wasn't on 20.
Yes. I think Steph might not have done it. Remember in 2014 and Paul George had that like horrible injury?
Yeah.
I think that was at the Olympic
trials, yeah.
And I want to say that he had like a very visceral like reaction to it, and that might have swayed him from not doing it.
Okay.
Because I remember there being like an interview I was listening to at the time, like back in 2014, like when it happened. He was like, "Yeah, man, I've never seen that like that. I had to like go home and talk to my dad about it. Like he would say all this stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if it comes from that moment, but." The fact that it goes beyond just the Olympics, but he had his redemption arc. Like, yo, I won all these rings with Durant. I did win one before, but half of the squad we were matched up against was hurt. We beat Boston. I got this like Olympics, bro. It's the greatest performance I've ever seen in the Olympics. And it might be one of the best performances I've ever seen in the basketball game. But like to wrap up what you asked, what I took out of it was my newfound love for basketball and the love of those two individual guys. Because like, you never get to see Durant joke around on the internet, but you don't see him get to be vulnerable, and that was dope. That was super dope.
Yeah. I agree completely. I think that whole experience of just him crying, and like we've always heard him be like, or I remember people saying Kevin Durant just likes basketball. He just wants to hoop, and you hear how he goes full speed at practice all the time, and we never really have him in this vulnerable state. And I think, and this is kind of a larger conversation I've just had about Durant, or just my thought process of him is like, I think there are athletes. I think that there are athletes who were, because social media came in basically around the time that like they got stars or whatever, that like these things really affected them as a human. Like I really think Kevin Durant changed as a person because of when he left to Golden State.
Facts.
I think that that was a fundamental change in who he was as a human. And how he responds to people.
Mm-hmm.
And like this man's almost 40 now.
Yeah.
Like
37.
He's a different person. He's a guy who clearly is online a lot.
Yes.
And I think that he's never basically shown his vulnerability, because I really think he was like, in his mind, whether we agree with it or not, and circles around to a Stephen A point, is he, I think, really just wanted to live in Golden State. Like, yes, they had a cool team. They had a really good team. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that he wasn't going to play for the Wizards.
Yeah.
But like at that time, man, Golden State or like San Francisco, that was the place to live.
That was the place to live. Yeah,
If
yeah,
you were in your early 20s, mid 20s,
yeah.
and you were like, I'm trying to get into this tech game and figure out how to make stuff and things like that, that was
That was
2010, 2020. That was the place to be.
yeah.
And I genuinely think he
Hmm.
just wanted to live there.
I
You
wouldn't be
know?
surprised. Yo, not to try to cut you off, but Melos he openly has said one of the reasons why he wanted to go to New York, beyond it being the Mecca, was he wanted to get into tech through like James Dolan, and he was like, it never came to fruition the way I like believed it would. But yo, you're 20 something years old. Why would you not want to live in like a major city like New York or like Golden State, or like San Francisco, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think from that moment on, and like several moments since then, even after, he even said when he won the championship, he wasn't happy.
Yes.
And like, I think a lot of times we don't listen to people when they
Yeah.
say these things. Even if I don't agree with him, I'll be like, man, you're on top. But to him, um, it wasn't the case. And like, he, I personally came away from it being very happy that he was able to have this moment for himself.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
As just a person, like this was four now. I think this is four straight. These
For
tied
yeah,
Mello,
you time Melo. Yep. Yep. Yep.
yeah, and
You think
so
you think he goes for five?
he'll be 41.
He'll
I
be
think
40. No, the Olympics is 28, so it's what, 3 years from now. He'll be
3 years
40.
from now. He'll be
He'll be
40
40.
on the dot.
40 in the dot. Yeah. I think he does.
Does
And
Kevin Durant? Here's the question: will Kevin Durant play?
well, beyond that, beyond Kevin
Because
Durant.
if he's not gonna play, I don't think Kevin Durant would go.
Okay.
If they were like, you'll play, like
Yeah.
you'll get 10 minutes a night, I think he'll play.
So out of all the guys, the older guys, Durant, LeBron, Steph, because the next Olympics is in 2028 in LA.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time in since Atlanta '96
It's gonna
that
be here, yeah.
it's gonna be here, and beyond and we haven't talked about the international like aspect because I
Oh
think
wait, no, I got yeah.
yeah,
I want to talk
uh,
about that. Yeah,
but I think these guys are going to have more of a reason to want to extend their time and play in 2028 because we're in LA and or because it's going to be in LA and you're going to have the world coming to. So who do you think out of those guys will be there if they're told, "Hey, you'll get to play"? Do you think Durant, Steph, LeBron, and
I can't see LeBron playing. He's at
no?
44. That
Yeah,
would be incredible if he's on the team. So I can't see it be LeBron.
yeah,
Steph and Durant are the same age, so they'll both be 40-ish around that age.
yeah,
Like I said, small guards do not do well in this tournament, and Steph
yeah.
did not play well
Yeah.
for a
For the
vast
final.
majority of this tournament.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So if I had to pick one, it would probably be Durant,
Copy.
just because you're that tall. If you can move around, and there aren't that many, even
Yeah,
at 40, there's not going to
yeah,
be only but so many people, if Durant's locked in, that are better basketball players that are in
yeah.
Durant in the tournament.
Yep.
And it's Kevin fucking Durant. Like, he's
He's
going to
too
be able to
efficient.
shoot threes
Yeah, he's too
forever.
efficient. Yeah, he's too efficient too. Yeah, yeah. He has all the intangibles to be able to do it in 2028.
Yeah.
Just
So
needs to be
if
healthy.
I'm picking one, it would be him. But speaking
Yeah,
of this, and I guess I'll shift around the LeBron topic to the end. Um, since you talked about the international is going to be here, and even circling back to the fact of like why I love this Olympics so much is that, dog, this is going to be a fight for the rest of time.
yeah,
Like, I absolutely do not think that it is a lock for the USA to win these things going forward. This past year, I felt confident, like these are the favorites. They should win. I wouldn't have been shocked if they lost.
uh-huh.
It is a 50-50 proposition for me
I
because go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. I once the documentary ended, I got really sad. I don't think I don't. I'm not even 50-50. I'm like 20-80. I don't know the next time we're gonna win the Olympics or gold. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if we have in the young guys, and maybe that will change by 2028.
That's what I'm saying. It's a long time.
But we don't, as of now, I don't think we're winning to 2028. We
The only issue is because I agree. I think that, and this is always the one advantage that the USA will always have
Mhm.
against, maybe not always, but should pretty much have in these games, whether it's Canada, Germany, um, Serbia, France, they gotta play dudes that aren't NBA players.
True,
We don't.
true.
Like at the end of the day, whoever steps on the court for the USA is an NBA, no doubt about it, player. You
Facts.
know, maybe an all-star, maybe an MVP, whatever, an all NBA player. They are absolutely NBA player, which as of right now, those teams don't fully have.
Yeah,
But like you said, 2028
yeah.
is right there.
Like,
And I look at a team like Canada, who has no size, but if Zach Edey's really good,
yeah,
maybe that changes for them, right? Like they got enough depth.
yeah.
They don't have, I would say, the overall talent, but if you have someone like Shea and he's clearing away the best player on the court, you know, again, like you said, I'm not so down on it just because I will find it. I've seen how this country reacts when we
Yeah.
lose international things that
Yeah.
we're supposed to win, especially basketball.
hmm
So even if they lost 2028, which again, I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing, oh, come hella high water,
Oh,
things are going to change.
yeah. Facts. Facts.
And so, yeah, I think the world has not just caught up; it's right there, and it can go either way. I think in 3 years.
One thing they're gonna have to do, which they did it with Joel Embiid. Joel wasn't supposed to be on the USA team. He shouldn't even been on the team at all. Not because he's not talented, not because he's not a U.S. citizen, uh, because of his injury risk. I mean, that's a whole other thing. Um, but I think the USA the basketball, they're gonna go out and get guys that have dual citizenship who should be on other teams and might float them something like, yo, because if it will be very embarrassing for the USA basketball to lose gold in 2028 in LA. It'd be
Yes.
embarrassing. Like it would be probably as worse or as bad as what was it Athens in 2004.
Yeah.
It
And
might
like I wasn't really around for that, but like that was an embarrassment. Like again, it's gonna be here.
be here. It's not gonna be in Barcelona. It's not gonna be like in some other dope spot. No, it's gonna be in LA. And I just can't see us winning currently constructed. Because like we were just talking about, some people won't be there in 2028. But like I'm thinking about people like Flag, people like Ace Bailey, Harper. You got these really young guys who I think they're gonna get at least one or two of those guys. You have the Ants, the Bookers.
But that's the thing. It's on the Brunsons. It's on the Ants. It's
Yeah.
on the Bookers. It's on the Boncaros. It's on the
Yes.
Jaren Jackson Juniors. And like,
Yes.
listen, again, that's a long time from now.
Yes.
Tatum, like
Tatum
Tatum won't even be 30 by then.
won't be. Yeah, 30, it won't be 30. Yeah.
Yeah, and like those guys, I think it's gonna be a very interesting mix. I'll say because Kerr's not doing it right now. I think they already said Spo's doing it.
Spo,
Or
yeah.
right now, the rumor is that Spo's going to take over.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. See that.
And yeah, man, I am. That's a very, 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 very interesting conversation about who will be over. But last thing to get us out here, I'm interested in how you felt about basically this being a documentary, and LeBron James wasn't in it. Like for the most part, LeBron's not. He's not interviewed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's not really featured
Mm-hmm.
You don't even really see his moments, and that's the thing because LeBron, was the MVP of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Why do you think that was?
I know exactly why it was. He's got his own documentary, and I absolutely think he didn't want to give some of the game away about what it is.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if it's gonna be some movie deal. I mean, there's been reports that LeBron's had a camera crew following him around for I think the last couple of years he's been out in LA.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And which again goes to my original point of this original podcast. I've been a LeBron James fan my whole life. Love LeBron, right? There's stuff that he does that are self-serving to LeBron, which is fine. It goes back to the kid thing. It goes back to this not doing the interview things. I absolutely think he's got his own doc because there's absolutely no way you don't sit down and talk to LeBron.
Yeah.
The fact that he's not featured at all in it, like he's in the doc, you see highlights of him, but the fact that you got the two biggest other stars on the team to sit down and talk, and he doesn't talk, that made me think that he's got something in the works. I don't know exactly what that is as of yet, but something's coming.
I'm on board. I'm 100% on board with that. You don't get those people in a room and not talk to arguably the best best ever. He definitely probably that's a double negative. He probably has a documentary coming out about maybe himself in the Olympics, and like you said, he probably didn't want to give the game away. I personally don't mind it, but it is strange. That would be like if that would be like a documentary about the Bulls before The Last Dance, and Michael Jordan isn't seen from talk to like they never sit down with him. But then a couple months later, they drop The Last Dance, and I could see in the next year or so them probably dropping a LeBron Olympics journey documentary type of thing. They did do the sit down with the NBA though, the three goats.
Yeah, they did that.
They did do that, so that's a bit interesting because were.
I don't know how you felt about that. I actually felt that was kind of disappointing.
It was. I wouldn't call it disappointing. I would say it was underwhelming.
Yeah, that's probably a better.
I thought the conversation would just be more in depth, more better. Yeah, it was just a disappointing. There was no reason for it if they weren't going to have a deeper conversation.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, and I think because funny enough, Kevin Durant's I think the only one of them. Well, no, he had that really bad movie, that Thunderstruck.
Oh,
that movie was
Thunderstruck. Yeah.
I never seen it, and I hope to God never to see
I have never seen it. Yeah. He said he never act again after that.
He shouldn't.
Never.
But Durant. But I was gonna say Steph Curry had his own documentary that he did after they won the title. I think it was Underrated or whatever that one was called. But yeah, and I think LeBron's whole kind of role in this is kind of cool, and I actually do agree with you. I actually like the documentary a little bit better because that he's not really featured in it, because I just learned so much about France, right? Like how they did their academy, even Evan Fournier, where they're talking about that school. I don't know if it's called IBM or ICC.
Yep.
Where all the top athletes go, and that's where they train. And that's where he met.
I didn't realize he was like that. Yeah, I never knew he was like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and how Rudy Gobert's came through to the same program. And, that's how they all met and things like that. And same thing with Victor. And even the coach, my favorite line of the entire movie, and I said this, not a movie, documentary, I said this the other day when the Knicks were playing the Warriors, when the French announcer, when Steph hit the last one, was just like, we've been crucified by Steph Curry.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, that is so hilarious. I was like, that is so funny.
Yeah.
And I absolutely want to keep that as something to be said. Because I said it to my friend the other day when, of course, Steph 13-1 all time in the Garden.
Isn't
and the one he lost, he dropped 54.
Yo, wasn't his
Jesus Christ.
breakout game in the Garden?
Yeah, that was. I remember exactly where I was. I was in college. I was
Yeah,
in my dorm room. The game was on ESPN.
yeah.
The Knicks were really good that year,
Yeah.
and like I always liked Steph because I was a fan early on, and I was just watching this game, and it was funny because the Knicks were kind of like controlling the game for most of it, but Steph was like keeping them in the game.
Yep.
And the Warriors weren't that good that year,
They weren't
and
at
I was
all.
kind of just like, all right, we're not going to lose this game. And who was it? Did Raymond Felton say like? Raven, I forgot because Mike Woodson was the coach of the team,
Yeah.
and there was some interaction with him. I think Melo talked about this where he was like, "Nah, I got him," whatever, and
Oh
Melo
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, "He's got 50 on you,
Oh,
man,"
yeah.
but he blocked a shot at the very end that helped win the game.
Because Knicks won the game, right?
Knicks won the game. That's
Yeah.
that's his only loss. That's the funny thing about this.
Yeah.
That's the only game he lost. So
Yeah. Yo, Steph is box office, man. I love seeing him in the Garden. Uh, I know we're about to go, but I got a quick question for you. What's one player in the NBA in the last 20 years that, because they're so box office, you would have wanted to see them in a Knicks jersey playing in the Garden?
I openly not cried, but I was heated when he went seventh. Steph Curry.
Steph? Yeah.
He's made San Francisco one of the great GDPs exploded.
Bro,
Look at their GDP
Yeah.
prior to him coming,
Yeah.
and look at their GDP after. They moved stadiums. They live in they're in San Francisco now. They have a whole. I went to their arena. It's nice as hell. That's because of him.
Because of him. Yeah. Bro, you're right. I don't think a lot of people realize that, but as a New York basketball fan, I thought it was dope that Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and James Harden were all playing on the same team. But they only played like 13 games together in total. But dog, if they were on the Knicks,
Oh yeah, that would have been stupid.
if that like people don't realize that when Knicks basketball is great or good, the city's different, the energy's different. But imagine Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, just them two. Take James Harden out of it because he played a lot, but he didn't get to. But let's add him in. James Harden, Kevin Durant.
James Harden was like people. I remember James Harden was like they were talking about him getting MVPs votes when he was on the Nets.
Nets,
because one
kept
of the three of them was always hurt. And if you actually look at it, I think Harden played the most games.
Harden, one of his best attributes is his health. Knock on wood, bro. He's relatively healthy. He's relatively healthy. Stayed healthy the whole time he's been in the NBA.
Yeah, he plays all the time.
He plays all the time. But yeah, so to answer my question, I think it would be seeing Durant and Irving and Harden in the Garden. That would have destroyed the city, but in the greatest way.
Yeah,
Because people
absolutely.
like them in Brooklyn, but no one gave a fuck.
Yeah,
No one.
No one gives a fuck about Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I always love taking a little dig at the
little,
Nets.
little jab there,
Little
bro.
dig. It's always fun. All 12 of their fans. But no, I really appreciate it. That's Nick coming to you live, breaking down everything for the NBA. I guess this is a part if you want to say something to promote anything you got going on. Drop it now.
At the moment, I have some stuff that I'm working on that I will share with everybody on a future episode. But my name is Nick. It was great. We'll do more of these, whether it's basketball, WNBA. Well, that's the same thing. Like baseball, football, and I'm looking forward to it, man. Just this weird happened. I happened to look to my right on a flight, turn that into this, and I'm happy I'm here. Happy I met you, Just, and let's do more of these, man. You're great at what you do, and you have something to say, and we're here to listen.
I appreciate that, man.
And yeah, man, I'm happy to help in any which way, and onward and upward,
Facts, man. So yeah, thanks you all for, again, this is the Men Who Cry podcast. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, and review. And I'll see you guys later in the week.
Peace.